hate love-hate triangle. It's been a while. Sorry. But I'm here. I'm doing 10 favourite books 2012. Just to try you know it's serious business. So Simon and Jake have already done their really good video about music and film and that, and from 2012, but mine aren't from 2012 because I'm also shit in other ways as well as promptness. So these are the books that I've read in 2012 but they weren't released in 2012. First on our list, Paradise Lost by John Milton. This is a 17th century poem, but wait, don't leave. It's basically about the fall of man, about Lucifer and Eve eating the apple and being kicked out of Eden and all that. It's good, trust me. It's really beautiful, but at the same time really grotesque. There are some fucked up creatures in hell. It's divided up into 10 books, but like this is all 10 books, don't be scared. Also, God is portrayed as a really sort of petty and annoying character, and Lucifer's like fucking awesome, like evil, but super cool. So if you like Satan. Second is The Echo Maker. This was the book I wrote my extended essay on, but I'm not going to talk about it because I did a review, so there'll be a link in the doobly-doo. The Echo Maker, yeah! Third is an 800-page Dostoevsky novel, but wait, don't leave! It's called The Brothers Karamazov, and it's essentially about 3 brothers of the Karamazov family and their father and their relationships, and the father is killed and one of them is accused of the murder. And it's also a lot about religion. One's a monk and one's an atheist, and there are a lot of discussions about that, and there's a really interesting bit in the middle where there's a poem which one of them has written about Jesus coming and visiting, I think during the Spanish Inquisition, and the priests sort of locking him up because he's fucking up their organised religion. It's good, but the ending's really bad. At the end everyone goes back to God and I'm like, everything's about God and poetry in this, isn't it? I'm sorry, I didn't realise there was such a thing for religious poetry. Fourth is Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. It is set over the course of one day. It's very modernist and it follows the story of Clarissa Dalloway, who's a sort of wealthy wife of a Member of Parliament in the early 20th century, and it also follows the story of Septimus something or other, Septimus Warren, who is a shell-shocked soldier. It's sort of this really impressionistic, is that a word? Prose that's just really beautiful, and it doesn't, I can't think of any way to describe it other than it doesn't stay fixed. It's really hard to explain without sounding like a wanker, but I've read quite a lot of Woolf last year and this was my favourite, so yay. Linked to that is The Hours, which I read immediately after. It's not by Virginia Woolf, it's by Michael Cunningham, but it's 3 stories told at the same time. One follows a 60s housewife who's reading Mrs. Dalloway, one follows Virginia Woolf as she writes Mrs. Dalloway, and one follows basically a modern version of Mrs. Dalloway called Clarissa. It kind of appealed to the literature student in me, just that sort of combination of the process of writing and the relationship between the reader and the book and the reader and the writer. I want to say it's a good read, but that makes it sound cheap and tacky, and it's not cheap and tacky, and I'm not sure how to convey this. God, I'm so good at book reviews, I don't know how to talk about books. Number 6, The French Lieutenant's Woman by John Fowles. I read this book for school, but it didn't get studied to death, for me anyway. It is written in the 60s, but it's basically an imitation Victorian novel. So it starts off with the omniscient third-person character and the, you know, respectable middle-class characters, but then eventually they sort of fall victim to their sexual desires, and the narrator kind of gets bored and intrudes on the story. Like, literally, the narrator just puts himself into the story, and it's like a total mindfuck, and but it also has that whole Victorian page-turny thing going on, so you have to keep on reading because of all the constant cliffhangers, and oh god, Victorian sexual tension, who doesn't love Victorian sexual tension? Like, deaths, read it, deaths. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I had to check. Emily wrote Wuthering Heights and Anne wrote The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. Charlotte Bronte wrote Jane Eyre. I always forget, it's really embarrassing. Jane Eyre, woo feminism. Like, Jane Eyre is the story of a woman called Jane Eyre from childhood up until, like, I don't know, till she's like 20. The reason it's called Jane Eyre is because she has such a big thing about her name and about who she is and about staying true to herself, even though she falls in love with this guy, but being with him would basically make her sacrifice her beliefs and what she thinks is the right thing to do, and so she isn't with him. And I'm like, this was written like 200 years before Twilight, and it's so much more fucking feminist than Twilight, and it just depresses me. But this book doesn't depress me. This book is beautiful. So read Jane Eyre, please, especially for a woman. Read Jane Eyre, read Jane Eyre. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead by Tom Stoppard. Look, it's Shakespeare in a barrel. This was really good, but you probably shouldn't read it if you hadn't read Hamlet first. If you have read Hamlet or seen Hamlet, you'll know that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are two minor characters in that. And this play, written by the same guy who wrote Shakespeare in Love, beautiful film, is basically the story of those two characters, both within the play of Hamlet, like there are scenes in here that are taken directly from Hamlet, and sort of the things that happen off the wings of the play, and how Rosencrantz and Guildenstern came to Denmark and what happens when they leave. Which, if you've read the play, you'll know it doesn't end well. And this play is kind of very Beckett-y, if you know what that means. It's kind of very existential and kind of sparse. In productions of Hamlet, they quite often make the joke of other characters getting Rosencrantz and Guildenstern mixed up and calling them the wrong thing. And they kind of take this to an extreme in this play because they keep on forgetting which one's which. And it's really confusing and terrifying. Ninth, we have Middlesex. This was the last book I read in 2012, so it's quite neat that I included it, and I did really genuinely enjoy it. Quite suitably, given the title, it's about hermaphrodite. Oh, also it's written by Geoffrey Eugenides, who wrote The Virgin Suicides. And it's quite long, and it's narrated by someone called Cal, who was raised a girl, but found out when he was 14 that he was XY. The reason it's so long is that it tells the story of Cal's grandparents and his parents before it gets on to him. Also, just like Geoffrey Eugenides, actually, Cal has Greek heritage. So I'm not sure if it was intentional, but I kind of thought that the whole family saga thing felt very Greek mythology. Oh my god, finally we got to number 10. If you watch this far, I'm impressed, because wow, I'm boring. Shit, guys, why are you here? God. I'm gonna drink this tea now, and I'm not gonna edit it out, because if you made it this far, then you must be really interested in what I have to say, and you're going to stick around. Number 10 is Selected Poems by Sylvia Plath. What? Emma, you talk about Sylvia Plath too much. No, I don't. Shut up. Why does no one love me? What? So some of my friends know that I'm applying to Cambridge and hopefully may be able to go to Cambridge next year, which would be amazing. And the reason I picked Sylvia Plath, because I do read her poems quite regularly just for enjoyment, and the night before I had my interview for Cambridge, I'd bought all these books with me, you know, to flick through and remind myself and, you know, prepare myself for interview. And I bought this, even though it's not my personal statement, and, you know, there would be no reason why the interviewers would ask me about it, and I was looking at all these books, I was freaking out, and, you know, it's quite late, and so I just put all my books away and I just read this, and it reminded me why I was applying for English, and I really love it. Whoa, that got emotional quickly. Oh, jeez. Whoa, close-up shot, this shit cray. Hope you like that. Sorry it's so late, Jake and Simon. I probably won't be making videos here that often because I probably won't be making videos very often on my own channel either, because I've got loads of shit to do up until May when I have my last exams and I finish school. Shit, that's scary, isn't it? Simon, you're at film school, which is apt. Have fun at film school. Jake, you're applying to unis as well, but you're not applying for music. I mean, I'm applying for English, Simon is applying for film, and you're also applying for film. Not really maintaining the trend, are we? It's not so much a triangle as a line now. We've got two people on the side of film, I'm over here doing literature on my own, and music is just empty. Okay, wow, this is gonna be like the longest video I've ever made. I'm gonna go now. Look how great my flicks are today, aren't they great? This is why I did the close-up. That's the only reason why I did the close-up. I'm sorry, I love you, goodbye.